This case takes place in the Florida-Dade Correctional Institution on the 23rd of June, 2012. Darren Rainey was a 50-year-old man who was serving time in the Florida Correctional Facility. It was in August of 2011 that Darren was sentenced and was given a 2-year sentence for a minor non-violent illegal substance charge. Darren was seen as a decent inmate who didn't cause too much trouble. He was a religious man who would often sit in his cell and read his Quran. Although Darren was suffering with chronic and severe mental health issues, notably schizophrenia. He was prone to having episodes but was taking some medication to counteract them. As a result of his condition, Darren was held in the inpatient care unit and was kept under supervision. Darren was going to be released in July of 2012, but unfortunately, this would never happen. In June of 2012, prison guards took Darren's Quran from him and they threw it away. This caused Darren's mental health to decline and he became increasingly irritated. Many of the guards noted that after this incident occurred, his behavior changed. On the 23rd of June at 7:30 p.m, Darren was in his cell. A correctional officer named Ronald Clark came by to check on him. He found Darren smearing feces all over his cell and body. Ronald reported this to his senior, Sergeant John Fanfan, who instructed Ronald to take Darren to the showers so he could clean himself before bed. Here on the CCTV, we can see Ronald escorting Darren to the showers. One of the showers on the second floor of the inpatient unit was altered and allowed the correctional officers to control the water and the water temperature on the outside. The taps were located in the janitor's closet next to the shower room, not the shower itself. The shower was 3 foot by 9 foot in size. Officers could control the temperature so the water could be either scalding hot or ice cold. Instead of following procedure, Ronald escorted Darren past 2 shower units to the altered one on the second floor. He was released from his handcuffs and told to thoroughly clean himself. He was then locked in the shower. Showers on the inpatient unit at this facility are single-person cells that are locked from the outside. Once placed inside, inmates cannot leave the shower unless released by the officers. Ronald then went to grab some soap from one of the inmates, a man named Harold Hamstead. He returned and passed the soap to Darren. Darren would remark that he did not want to clean himself. According to Ronald, he didn't acknowledge what was said. He locked Darren in the shower, turned on the water, and left. 2 hours later, at 9:30 p.m, Sergeant Fanfan decided that it was time to remove Darren from the shower. Ronald was ordered to make his way there. He turned off the water from the outside and opened the door to find Darren lying face up unconscious. He shouted for some help and prison guards checked his pulse and realized that Darren was no longer breathing. CPR was attempted, but to no avail. Ronald, along with another correctional officer, Cornelius Thompson, picked Darren's body up and brought him over to a stretcher. As they were doing this, they noticed how Darren's skin began to loosen, peel, and was coming off in clumps. His body appeared to be extremely burned. Darren was carried on the stretcher over to the prison's medical center and given some medical treatment, but their efforts proved to be unsuccessful. Darren was pronounced dead at 10:07 p.m. So, what exactly happened? The following day, on the 24th of June, the MDPD crime scene unit arrived at the facility to conduct an investigation as to how Darren died under their supervision. The correctional officers were questioned and they gave their version of events, which is the story I have told so far. Photographs were taken of Darren's body and these images are available online, but be warned, they are incredibly easy to find. Even searching his name can bring them up. If you are squeamish, be careful when searching, as the images are incredibly distressing. The investigators noted that it seemed that Darren's body had suffered serious burns whilst in the shower. Skin was peeling off from his arms, legs, back, face, and chest. Later that day, an autopsy was conducted. The chief medical examiner, Dr. Emma Lou, stated that she was not able to conclude what the cause of death was. But this is when things get very strange, at least in my opinion. Dr. Lou told the investigators working on the case that there were no burns on Darren's body. If you're not squeamish, now would be a good time to look at the images of Darren after he was found in the shower. If you do not wish to Google these images, then I shall explain. The images showed Darren's lifeless body laid on a medical table, and as I said before, a large amount of skin is peeling from his body. The layers of skin underneath are also extremely red. Although I have absolutely no medical training, it does seem to me that Darren suffered serious burns. Following the ruling that Darren's death was unexplainable, later that year, a report documented that there was not enough evidence to further investigate. Some media outlets reported that Darren had simply died from a heart attack in the shower, due to the fact that his medication can hinder the regulation of body temperature, and the images of Darren's body had not yet been released to the public, and thus, the case of Darren Rainey was forgotten. That was until a number of complaints aimed at the prison guards came to the fore. Inmates at the facility complained that the guards would abuse their power. Many of the prisoners made claims that the officers would punish them with beatings, SA, and in some instances would lock them in the shower on the second floor and turn on the water either ice cold or scalding hot. This was the same shower in which Darren Rainey died in. It was alleged that the shower would be used to break inmates into submission. Julie Brown from the Miami Herald and the Huffington Post began to dig deeper into the case of Darren, and they pushed for answers. Pressure from the media resulted in the MDPD delving back into the case. They began to question some of the people that worked in the prison at the time of Darren's death, and some of the inmates. It turned out, in the initial investigation into Darren's death, many of the people were not questioned, and possibly deliberately so. An inmate named Harold Hampstead came forward to testify and give information. He was the one who had logged multiple complaints against the prison, which got the attention of the Miami Herald. Harold is serving a 170-year sentence, and his cell was located below the showers in which Darren died. Harold claimed that he would often see the guards taking inmates into the shower for punishment, and that it was all too common. Harold remembers the night of the 23rd of June 2012. He claims to remember the guards taking Darren to the showers and leaving him there for 2 hours. And while Darren was in there, he was screaming in pain, shouting, "I'm sorry, I can't take this anymore, please let me out." A number of other prisoners also came forward with the same story. They had heard or seen the abuse, and that on the 23rd of June, they too had heard Darren screaming in pain and recall the guards ignoring those pleas for help and compassion. In 2013, an inmate named Mark Joyner sent a letter to a prisoners' rights organization. He wrote, "I witnessed starvation and other forms of cruelty being used to control or discipline mentally ill patients. One of the methods employed was to place inmates under scalding hot water," and went on to say that this is what killed Darren. He said, "If I'm interviewed, I'll prove to law enforcement that this was intentional." Yet, nothing was done. When the case came to the light again in 2014, Mark was questioned. He stated that he saw Darren being taken to the showers and heard him scream out in pain, complaining that the water was too hot, and begged to be let out. Mark told the investigators that the following morning he was forced to clean the showers in which Darren had been killed in. He recalled seeing chunks of flesh that would have belonged to Darren, and a lot of the inmates recalled hearing Darren screaming in pain that night. Following this, former employees of the prison soon came forward and stated that they too had seen and heard prisoners being tormented. They corroborated the stories that the prisoners had told. and these people were reliable witnesses, being medical and mental health professionals. One of the nurses that had tried to resuscitate Darren claimed that his body had been warm to the touch, and that his body temperature had exceeded 102 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 39 Celsius. The nurses also wrote in their report that Darren had suffered significant burns to his body. This was also backed up by a paramedic who attended the scene, who also claimed that Darren's skin was burnt. Prison officials tested the temperature of the water from the shower where Darren was locked into, and the test concluded that the water could reach temperatures of 160 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 71 degrees C. This temperature is capable of causing burns. In fact, when they were testing the water, it splashed back on one of the people. They stated the water was hot enough to cause them pain. In 2016, Dr. Emma Lou finally published the finalized version of the autopsy report, and the death of Darren Rainey was ruled as accidental. She put down the cause of death to Darren's medication that he was taking for his mental health issues and his heart disease. Dr. Lou stated that the death of Darren was not due to the correctional officers, and made little mention of his skin, putting the skin slippage down to decomposition and not burns. And then, in 2017, the state attorney Catherine Rundle and her office created a 101-page report. This report backed up that Darren's death was accidental and had nothing to do with the correctional officers. It was in 2017 that the photographs of Darren's body were released to the public. Despite the witnesses and the photographic evidence, the official ruling was that the death was accidental. A number of forensic experts spoke to the Miami Herald about Dr. Lou's findings regarding the autopsy, and they strongly disagreed with her findings. They believe that Darren had indeed been burned. They found her explanation of skin slippage due to decomposition preposterous. In my opinion, the guards did indeed take Darren to that shower to punish him, hence why they walked past 2 showers to that one. This case has to be one of the strangest I have come across, and sadly to this day, no one has been held responsible for what happened to Darren. In fact, a couple of the correctional officers were given promotions. There were 4 officers that were deemed to be responsible for what happened to Darren, and it's stated officially that Sergeant John Fanfan, Cornelius Thompson, Ronald Clark, and Edwina Williams did not act with premeditation, malice, hatred, or evil intent. In 2018, Darren's family received a $4.5 million settlement, which came from the taxpayers. Despite this, the case of Darren Rainey remains accidental. What is so tragic about this case is that Darren was clearly in need of help with his mental health, and instead of getting this help, he was tormented by the correctional officers, and sadly, this is likely the end of the story.